Hey guys, so this is the Xiaomi Mi Pad 2. It's got 64 gig of storage on the Windows 10 edition. After Windows 10 is put on there, usually have about 45 gig left after the Windows 10 installation, which is 64-bit as well. So it's really good. I actually really love this thing. It's just really solid. It does remind me a lot of the iPads, just really good build quality. The screen, let's go through that. It's 2448 by 1536 Retina screen. It's got 324 Ppi, which is dense. It's really nice. I love it. There's no gap in between the device either, so it is just sharp, really sharp. So yeah, the brightness of this thing is really bright, very bright. I usually have it on 25, so that usually is more than enough for me. But if you like it a bit brighter, well, a lot brighter, you can put it up to 100. Now if you want to get really technical, you can go into the actual NVIDIA settings, and you can actually turn the adaptive brightness up through Windows and NVIDIA. Once that's off, 100 really goes up to 100. So it's more than bright enough. I always have it on 25. I've just got it on 100 for you guys, so you can really see the actual potential of this thing. So it's got a USB-C connector on the bottom, which I have a little hub that goes to USB, a couple of USB 3.0s, so you can have your keyboard, your mouse, but you can have it wireless as well. It's got Bluetooth on here, so you could just use that Type-C as your power line. The only thing is that the USB-C on here, for some reason, it might be a Xiaomi driver issue. You can't have any outputs to monitors or anything like that, so I've tried myself, quite a few other people have tried, but for some reason this thing just doesn't output to another monitor, which is a shame, but it's so well made, and it's just so nice to use that I can kind of let that slide by. It's just one thing really. Apart from that and the SD card, the micro SD card, it has none. So that's kind of a bit of a deal breaker for some people that actually do like the SD card. So it could easily have one. It's got the volume rocker on there and the power button. USB-C could have one. I think it's something to do with Microsd. They kind of have held the manufacturers back because obviously people want Windows on a tablet, and obviously you're competing with the Surface Pros, so Microsoft have dug their heels in, I think, and kind of made sure you're not getting a couple of really nice things. But I don't know, I might be chatting absolute bollocks, but that's just a theory I've heard. So anyway, we'll leave that. 2 gig of RAM, DDR3. It's okay, I would have liked 4 gig. For some reason there's only 2, which is a bit stupid, but it runs fast enough. If you hold that down, task manager, so your 4 gig, well, your 2 gig, sorry, it does get used up a lot in just the system, to be honest. So if you've got Microsoft Edge running, usually you'll hit about 40 to 70% on average. But if you're just using it without Edge or any browser, it usually runs around the RAM area of 50%. So you're always using 1 gig of RAM, always. So you've only got 1 gig spare really, so you've got to use it sparingly. So you just got to be careful with the tabs really, because once you start opening YouTube, a couple of YouTubes, that's when it starts to slow down and it just starts to lag a little bit. But you could have 3 tabs of YouTube open, 4 tabs, of just browsing the internet, and you're not going to see a massive slowdown. It's still usable. I love it. I'm on it every day, so if I'm one of those people that's a bit of a perfectionist, so if it really did wind me up with the RAM, I wouldn't use it. So edge on this thing is absolutely amazing. The scroll is just great. It's really fluid compared to Chrome and Firefox. They seem to kind of judder down the screen as you're scrolling, whereas Edge seems to use the actual resources really well. It's really fluid. It just glides up and down. So that's what I'm using at the moment, just because it uses the least amount of resources, and the performance of the scroll is great. Now, I know a lot of people like uBlock Origin and NoScript, which I use as well on my computer, but on this I don't, because obviously Edge doesn't have those extensions yet. Hopefully at one point they will, which they need to sort out because it's doing my head in. So yeah, get on that, Microsoft, because you're utterly rubbish at the moment really. So yeah, that's my main gripe. But I can kind of overlook that with the performance of the thing. Using Edge, I can still use, say, 5 YouTube tabs and it's still okay. It hovers around 80 to 90% of RAM usage, and then about 30-40% of CPU, so I can still do other tasks on the side. So it still works out. It's not going to be laptop spec, or your desktop, but for a tablet it runs everything really well. So what more can you ask really? Yeah, there's a couple of other things that really wind me up. The fact that there's no micro SD, which we've gone through, but when you go to YouTube and the volume goes up and down for no reason, I've looked into it. I can't seem to find the solution, which is really doing my head in now. It's only on YouTube as well. It seems to be on nothing else. But when you're playing YouTube videos, the volume goes up and down, up and down. I'm not sure why. I've tried to reinstall Microsd drivers. I've tried everything. Nothing seems to have worked. So tried that. That's winding me up. There's also another thing where if you go to 100% brightness, I don't know if I can show you on here, but I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but there's like a slight flickering on the backlight on the bottom, and I don't know if I can show you, but there's usually like a couple of lines. There's a couple of lines flickering around and stuff, which is just really annoying. So there's a manufacturing problem with the screen apparently, according to quite a few forums, which is really annoying really, because it's such a nice screen, such a beautiful device, and then you've got these couple of issues that are just really annoying. Another thing is that wherever you get this device from, you could have a different experience to somebody else, because depending on where you do get this from, some people have reported back that there's some malware on this thing. So I got mine from Gearbest, and I've not had anything like that. So I would check. I'd run Malwarebytes, Spybot, Avast, Common Sense 2016. All of that. See what's going on. I did not find anything on mine, but quite a few people have, so I'll just double check, to be honest. I'd always put a fresh install on this thing anyway, because just to double check. We're all a bit paranoid. NSA, shh, so I would check that out, and yeah, just be hesitant before you start putting your details through. Just be really careful until you've wiped it or scanned it. So, battery. Very thin, really thin. So what's the battery like? Well, I got on, let me see what I put down. Yeah, so I had the brightness at 100. I also had Wi-Fi on. I had Bluetooth off, and I had a tab open, one tab on Microsoft Edge, and I just left it. Now I got over 10 hours of battery, so that's amazing, really, for how thin it is and how bright it is. I had it 100% on the screen. I got just over 10 hours. So that's great, really. What more can you want? It's almost half a day of charge. So that's really magical for me. I've never had anything like that, which is really good. Now the latest processor in this is the Atom Z5 Z8 500, the Cherry Trail, and that's in the T-Class X98 Pro and the Asus Transformer Book T100HA. So they don't have nowhere near the battery life of this thing, I don't think. And with the T-Class, they have really bad overheating issues, which this thing is just so cold. I think that's because the aluminium back. I don't know. I think it distributes the heat so well that it never gets warm unless you're playing, say, a really intensive game. Yeah, I don't really see it doesn't really overheat. The only time it's overheated is when I was playing Final Fantasy IX in the conservatory, and it was boiling hot on that day, and I had really hot hands as well, and it was getting a bit warm then, but there was nothing to suggest it would turn off or I'd have to give it a cool down or anything. So in that respect, it's really good. But for gaming, I don't know. If you're playing some early Valve game, it'd be okay. But I tried to play Final Fantasy IX, and the the cut scenes were kind of like juddering a bit. It was dropping below 30 frames per second on the cutscenes. So, and that was on low spec, low resolution and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I'd be a bit wary to use this as gaming, for anything gaming really, unless it's like solitaire or something. So yeah, I wouldn't buy this for gaming at all. Apart from that though, it's a great machine. I'd recommend it. The only problems are that the screen keeps flickering, which is really annoying, and the volume goes up and down on YouTube only, and that's only on the speakers as well. It's not on the headphones. So you can use the headphones, that will not go up and down. So when are you gonna use your speakers really? But it's still annoying. You pay £180, which I roundabout did on Gearbest, and £180. You want it to be 100% working properly. So I'm gonna talk to them and see if I can get an exchange or something like that. I've got one more problem with it as well. When it's really, really cold, when you first pick this thing up, the bottom left, when you're holding it, it does creak. There's a bit of a creaking noise on the bottom bit, but as soon as it warms up, the metal, the aluminium kind of must firm up again or something, because you don't get that creaking after a while once it's nice and warm, or you've had it in your hand for a minute or so. So that's another issue, but that's not a deal breaker for me. So overall, so these are the pros. Great tablet, really great build quality. The screen is crisp, really nice. The brightness is incredible. Great PPI. The speakers are great as well. When you're actually not using them from YouTube, they're really loud, really precise. There's no distortion either on the high ends. The bass is it's really good, to be fair, for such little speakers. Only these little vents here on the back, but they do pump out some bass for such little speakers. The cons are there is no micro SD drive, which, you know, if you like to read manga and stuff, then you'd have to use Dropbox or, you know, Manga Blaze, which I use, which is this app here. So yeah, it's just a bit annoying because you could just put the micro SD in and then just read your manga, but for some reason they haven't put it on. Maybe because they'll bring out Mi Pad 2 Pro and put a micro SD card in that and then put a 4 gig in there and then sell it to you. You know, that's the only reason that I can think of. There's only one port. It's kind of gone in the way of the MacBook 12-inch where there's only one USB-C port. So that's a little bit annoying sometimes, you know, if you want to plug in more than one thing and charge as well. I do have a OTG cable, on the go USB cable, so USB-C to USB 3.0 with a micro USB port on there. So I wanted to be able to put a keyboard and mouse and a power lead, but for some reason, I don't know if it's this port or the adapter, but I couldn't power it at the same time. Well, I just couldn't power it through that hub, so maybe it's something you should look into. 4 gig of RAM would have been nice. It would have been buttery smooth at that point, but the 2 gig's fine, unless you want to use Photoshop on something, which you're going to be struggling with, I reckon. Another thing as well, the hotspot, the mobile hotspot I have on my phone, this tablet cannot pick up my mobile hotspot for some reason. Now this hotspot can fire it across and other devices will pick it up, except this Mi Pad 2, for some reason it does not pick up my mobile hotspot. I've been on customer service to BlackBerry because I have a BlackBerry Priv, and they couldn't sort it out, so I think it's a driver issue, or I don't know. I've not looked into it massively, so hopefully when I get a new Mi Pad 2 sent to me from Gearbest, I'll try it again, see what the problem is. If it's still happening, then it's going to be my phone, but I very much doubt it's my phone, to be honest. But apart from that, it is great. Now I've got the rose gold, and you know, it is nice. There's also the space grey one, which is also very nice. Just depends on you, really. They're both really nice, but the build quality is great. All you've got these two little nuts that you have to undo, and then you can pop it off. 8 megapixel camera on the back, 5 on the front. I don't really use it because I have my phone. I've also got a DSLR camera, so yeah. Overall, I would recommend this. It's about £180 on Gearbest. Some on Banggood as well. You can get the 16 gig version, but I think only 16 gigs for Android. The 24 gig of storage is for Windows 10, which is really good. I got this at about 45 gig left. Still not filled it up because obviously it's just really for browsing, and I use Manga Blaze for my manga, to read that. So yeah, it is just a great tablet. I'd recommend it. So I'll put up some specs over here and you can have a look through. So I'll do that for you. Anyway, thank you very much. I will see you next time.